Being highly intelligent sounds like a gift, like something everyone would want. People assume your life is easier, that problems solve themselves, that success comes naturally, that everything just makes sense to you. But here's what most people don't understand. Intelligence doesn't make life easier. It often makes it harder, just in ways no one talks about. Because while everyone sees the advantages, the good grades, the quick solutions, the impressive achievements, no one sees the hidden cost, the isolation, the weight of seeing too much, understanding too deeply, feeling too intensely. Psychology shows us that highly intelligent people face struggles that sound almost paradoxical. How can thinking clearly make life more confusing? How can understanding people make connection harder? How can being smart make you feel more alone? Today, we're going deep into 8 real struggles of being highly intelligent, not to complain, but to understand, because if you've ever felt like your mind is both your greatest gift and your heaviest burden, this video is for you. Let's start with the one that never stops. Number 1. You overthink everything. Your mind never shuts off, ever. You're lying in bed at 2 a.m. replaying a conversation from 3 days ago, analyzing the tone, the pauses, the exact words they used, and suddenly you're spiraling. Did they mean something else? Did I say the wrong thing? What if they misunderstood? Or you're trying to make a simple decision, what to eat, what to wear, which route to take, and your brain turns it into a complex analysis. If I choose this, then this might happen, but if I choose that, then what about this other thing? While other people make choices quickly and move on, you're stuck, trapped in your own analysis. Psychologists call this analysis paralysis, when thinking too deeply actually prevents you from acting. But here's what makes this worse. You're aware that you're overthinking. You know it's irrational. You tell yourself to just stop, but you can't, because your brain doesn't have an off switch. It's always processing, always analyzing, always simulating every possible outcome. And this isn't just exhausting, it's isolating, because you can't explain to someone why a simple decision took you an hour. They'd think you're being dramatic, being indecisive, but you're not. You're just living with a mind that sees 10 steps ahead in every direction. Number 2. You struggle to connect with people. You walk into a party, everyone's talking, laughing, having what looks like effortless fun, and you're standing there feeling like an alien. Someone asks how you are. You want to have a real conversation, about ideas, about psychology, about the patterns you've noticed in human behavior, about something meaningful, but they don't want that. They want small talk, weather, weekend plans, surface-level pleasantries that feel painfully empty to you. So you play along, you smile, you nod, you give the expected responses, but inside, you're bored, disconnected, wondering if anyone here actually wants to talk about anything real. This is one of the loneliest parts of high intelligence. You crave depth in a world that mostly operates on the surface. You want to discuss philosophy over coffee, but people want to discuss the latest TV show, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not what your mind needs. Psychology shows that intelligent people often feel socially isolated, not because they dislike people, but because they process connection differently. They need intellectual stimulation to feel engaged. Without it, socializing feels like performing, like pretending to be someone simpler just to fit in. And over time, you start withdrawing, not because you're antisocial, but because shallow connection feels worse than being alone. At least alone, you don't have to pretend. Number 3. You're too aware of everything. You walk into a room and you notice everything. The person in the corner who's faking a smile, the slight tension between two people who claim they're fine, the inconsistency between what someone says and what their body language reveals. Other people miss these things. They take interactions at face value, but you can't. Your brain automatically picks up patterns, tonal shifts, the things people aren't saying. And while this awareness can be useful, it's also exhausting, because you're constantly processing information most people don't even notice. You see the manipulation in marketing, the dishonesty in politics, the hidden motives in everyday interactions. Psychologists call this hyper-awareness, and it's common in highly intelligent people. Your brain is wired to detect patterns, to analyze systems, to see beneath the surface. But that means you can never just relax into ignorance. You can't unsee what you see. This makes the world feel heavy, because you're aware of problems everywhere, in systems, in people, in yourself. And that awareness comes with responsibility, because once you see something, once you understand it, you can't pretend you don't. Number 4. You feel constant pressure to succeed. You got good grades as a kid. People noticed. They started calling you smart, gifted, special. And suddenly, there were expectations. You're supposed to succeed at everything. First try, no struggle, because you're intelligent, right? It should be easy for you, but it's not. You struggle like everyone else. You fail. You make mistakes. You don't understand things immediately. But when you do, people are shocked, disappointed even. They say things like, "I thought you were smart. I expected better from you." This creates what psychologists call impostor syndrome, the persistent feeling that you're not actually intelligent, that you've somehow tricked everyone, that eventually, you'll be exposed as a fraud, so you work harder. You push yourself to impossible standards, not because you want to, but because you're terrified of confirming what you secretly fear, that maybe you're not as smart as people think, that maybe you never were. And the cruel part, the more you achieve, the worse the imposter syndrome gets, because every success feels like luck, every accomplishment feels undeserved, and you're just waiting for the moment when everyone realizes you get bored easily. Your brain needs stimulation, complexity, challenge. Without it, you zone out, you procrastinate, you lose motivation entirely. Routine tasks feel like torture. Repetitive work makes you want to scream. Conversations about nothing drain you faster than physical labor. And people judge you for this. They call you lazy, unmotivated. They say you lack discipline, but that's not it. Your brain literally requires more complexity to stay engaged. It's not that you can't focus, it's that you can't focus on things that don't challenge you. Psychologists have found that highly intelligent people often struggle with tasks that require sustained attention on simple, repetitive activities, not because they're incapable, but because their brains are wired to seek novelty and complexity. This makes modern life difficult, because so much of life is routine, so much is repetitive, and while other people can zone out and push through, you can't. You need meaning, you need challenge, you need something that actually engages your mind. Without it, you feel restless. Like you're wasting time, like you're capable of more, but stuck doing less. And that gap between your potential and your reality becomes its own kind of suffering. Number 6. You struggle with perfectionism. You start a project. It needs to be perfect, not good, not great, perfect. So you work on it endlessly, tweaking, adjusting, never satisfied, because you can always see how it could be better. You can see every flaw, every imperfection, every way it falls short of the ideal version in your mind. Psychologists call this maladaptive perfectionism. It's not the healthy kind that drives excellence. It's the destructive kind that prevents completion. That makes you afraid to start because you know you'll never be satisfied with the result. This perfectionism doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from fear. Fear that if something isn't perfect, it proves you're not as capable as people think. Fear that any mistake confirms you're a fraud. Fear that imperfection equals failure, so you procrastinate. You don't finish projects. You don't share your work, not because you're lazy, but because nothing ever feels good enough, and the standards in your mind are so impossibly high that you've set yourself up to always fall short. This creates a painful cycle. You want to create, to contribute, to use your intelligence for something meaningful, but the fear of imperfection paralyzes you, so you do nothing, which makes you feel worse, which raises the standards even higher, and the cycle continues. Number 7. You question everything, even yourself. You don't accept things at face value. You can't. Your mind automatically asks why. Why do we do things this way? Why is this considered normal? Why do people believe this? You question authority, traditions, social norms, not to be rebellious, but because you genuinely need to understand the reasoning, and if the reasoning doesn't make sense, you can't just go along with it. This makes you difficult. At least, that's what people tell you. You ask too many questions. You challenge too much. You can't just accept things and move on. But here's what's harder. You also question yourself, your own thoughts, your own beliefs, your own emotions. Nothing is sacred. Everything is up for examination, and while this drives growth, innovation, and deeper understanding, it also makes you exhausting to be around, and exhausting to be, because there's no solid ground, no absolute certainty, just endless questioning that never fully resolves. This is the intellectual version of anxiety. Your mind can't rest in simple answers. It needs to dig deeper, to understand more, to question further, and that endless seeking, while valuable, is also draining. Number 8. You feel emotionally heavy. Here's something people don't realize about intelligence. It often comes with heightened emotional sensitivity. You don't just understand people intellectually. You feel them. You absorb their pain. You sense their struggles. And you carry emotional weight that isn't even yours. Psychologists call this emotional contagion. When you take on the emotions of others without realizing it, when someone's sadness becomes your sadness, when someone's anxiety becomes your anxiety, this makes you deeply empathetic. You understand people at a level most can't. You see their wounds, their fears, They're hidden struggles, and you want to help, to fix it, to make it better, but you can't fix everyone, and trying to leaves you drained, exhausted, carrying burdens that were never yours to carry. Plus, your own emotions are intense. You don't just feel sad, you feel existentially heavy. You don't just feel happy, you feel overwhelmingly alive. Everything is amplified, everything is deeper, and that intensity, while beautiful, is also exhausting. So here's the truth about being highly intelligent. It's not easier, it's different, and that difference comes with struggles most people never see. You're not broken, you're not too much, you're not being dramatic when you say your mind is exhausting. You're just living with a brain that sees more, feels more, and processes more than the average person. And that awareness, while powerful, is also a burden. But here's what you need to understand. These struggles don't mean something's wrong with you. They mean you're wired differently. And different isn't bad. It's just harder to navigate in a world that wasn't designed for minds like yours. So what do you do with this? How do you live with high intelligence without being crushed by it? First, stop apologizing for your mind. Stop dumbing yourself down. Stop pretending to be less aware, less deep, less intense, just to make other people comfortable. Find your people. The ones who want depth, who crave real conversation, who understand that intelligence isn't about showing off, it's about seeking truth. Those people exist, and they're looking for you. Second, give yourself permission to need more challenge, more meaning, more complexity. That's not being difficult. That's being honest about what your brain requires to function well. Third, learn to channel the overthink. Use it. Write, create, build, analyze, turn the endless mental processing into something productive instead of letting it eat you alive. And finally, be gentle with yourself. Your mind is a gift, but it's also heavy, and you're allowed to acknowledge both. You're allowed to struggle. You're allowed to feel exhausted by your own awareness. Being highly intelligent doesn't mean having all the answers. It means seeing the world in layers most people can't. And yes, that awareness can be lonely, confusing, even painful, but it's also extraordinary, because while everyone else is skimming the surface, you're diving deep. And in that depth, you find things most people will never see. Beauty, truth, patterns, meaning. Your intelligence is not a curse. It's a rare gift that just needs the right environment, the right people, and the right balance to flourish. You're not too much. You just think deeper than most. And the world needs that, even when it doesn't understand it. If this resonated with you, if you recognized yourself in these struggles, know that you're not alone. There are others like you, quietly carrying the same weight, silently navigating the same challenges. And maybe that's the most important thing to understand. You're not broken, you're just intelligent. And that comes with its own unique set of struggles that deserve to be acknowledged, understood, and honored. Subscribe for more psychology that explores what it really means to be human, in all its complexity, in all its depth, in all its beautiful, exhausting truth.